which has come in is kind of an inverse of the problem of having to sleep, that you're sleeping too much. That, is that how that can be corrected?
So sleeping too much is what we call as hypersomnia. Hypersomnia has got many issues, many reasons can cause hypersomnia. As I said, your average sleep time, if I map, so there's something called bell-shaped curve. I don't know how many of you know, but bell-shaped curve simply means that if I take 100,000 people and I say as to how many hours does all this 100,000 people sleep, I would hit a target at 8 hours on a general basis, and that's a tip of the bell. But there are some people who will be sleeping and happy with just 6 hours of sleep. And then some who is going to be other end of the tail, which is going to be sleeping 10 hours a day in 24 hours. But in all said and done, we accept that this norm of sleeping about 7, 8 hours in the night is considered to be normal throughout the world. And if you sleep 9 hours and you think that's what you need to function, maybe you are a long sleeper. So there's a separate CPT code for long sleeper as well as short sleeper. So it's possible that you may be a long sleeper, but more often than not, if you are telling me that you sleep instantly, sleep is not a problem at all. You go to bed at 8 o'clock in the night and you wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning and you're perfectly fine. Sleep is not an issue. And that is actually an issue because you're sleeping 12 hours in the night. So why would that be? So most common problem for people who are having hypersomnia is what we look for as sleep apnea. So sleep apnea simply means, because it's coming second time, I want to say 2 lines about that. So sleep apnea simply means you're closing your airway from inside, and that can happen like maybe more than 5 times an hour is called as abnormal. So if you're closing your airway, so total open airway versus totally closed airway is called apnea. But there's something called hypopnea as well, means less air going through, or airway is partially narrow, and that less air going through and all can cause the body to react as well. So each time you do that, each time your airway is closed because of collapsing of the airway or because of structural abnormality, that leads to less air going into the body. Body goes into the panic mode. The adrenaline system responds, and that wakes you up. You have to wake up to have that. Otherwise, the body keeps on fighting. And that's where the hypertension happens, the arrhythmia problem happen, heart attack happens, reflux disease happens, muscle pains happen, joint pains happen. I mean, I can go on and on and on. All these issues are linked because the body is fighting at that moment. And to relieve that obstruction, you have to wake up for a few seconds. And this happens hundreds and thousands of times each night. And that leads to daytime sleepiness, or you sleep longer to be feeling better. To get your 8 hours sleep or get your deep sleep or REM sleep, you need to sleep longer period of time. So hypersomnia is the main cause is sleep apnea, but then other causes like narcolepsy, for example. Maybe you're kicking your legs a lot in the night. We call that restless leg syndrome or periodic leg movement disorder. Maybe you have idiopathic hypersomnia. Maybe you have reflux disease. Maybe you have asthma. Maybe you have psychiatric issues which are being controlled. So all these, if you type hypersomnia on Google browser, it's going to show you all those things which I just now talked about, and many others, of course. So it's a good idea to have it checked. I would start with sleep apnea management, evaluation and management first. That's the first step.